Welcome back to the Fear
and Beer podcast,
where we discuss all things Halloween Horror Nights, horror movies,
and just a little bit of beer.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Seamus.
Like scary movies.
Uh-huh.
Here's Johnny.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You miss me.
Aren't you drinking? I never drink. Why?
Before we get into tonight's episode, we want to remind all of those listening on Apple Podcasts to drop us a 5-star review. It helps us grow as a podcast and build our audience. If you're listening on Spotify or any other platform, follow us, and don't forget to share with friends and family who might have a little bit of the strange in them as well.
And while you're on those socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, be sure to find us, Fear and Beer Pod. Give us a like, share, and you can always message us. We love to interact with all you guys. Fear and Beer, same podcast. A couple changes. We got a new co-host.
Hello.
I'm sure you saw us post about it, but this is our introduction or reintroduction if you've been listening to a while, because you've heard her before on a couple episodes, a couple draft episodes. So we're going to spend the day getting to know Jamie. We're going to introduce her to you guys, the Fear and Beer audience. We have some questions from y'all that you want her to answer, kind of get to know her a little bit better. We're going to go over the speculation map, version 1 still, just to kind of get an idea of where she lands on all this stuff. You've heard me and Seamus talk about it nonstop. We've definitely given our input as to what we are fans of, not fans of, what we think is legit, what we don't. So now it's just time to bring Jamie up to speed, I guess. So that's sort of our main segment today. But other than that, that's really what we're going to be discussing. There hasn't been crazy concrete rumors. There's a lot of stuff just kind of floating out there. So we don't really need to touch on that. I think today is a good episode to kind of just get everyone sorted and get this new day and age of Fear and Beer kicked off. So before we do that, let's just dive into beers. And since we are bad at podcasting, this is our second take of this episode's intro, so I'm not going to have a can to crack. It's already poured out and it's been in the fridge. So what I'm going to be drinking tonight is called Stealth Mode. This is from Bottle Logic Brewing out of Anaheim, California. This is a tart ale brewed with blueberries. It is a fruit Berliner Weiss. I picked this up at the Half Barrel Project, and they detail this as tart wheat ale finished with hundreds of pounds of blueberries. This is also some sort of collab with Campy Creatures, and it is featuring the Invisible Man. So he is on the can art. It says, "Look out, when the gloves come off, you won't see what hits you." So interesting. I knew it's very horror, very monsters related, so I'm excited to kind of dive into this one. So what do we have on the other end? Jamie, what are you drinking in there?
So mine is pretty basic, not as cool compared to yours, but I'm drinking the Black Widow cider from Original Sin Brewery. It's made with blackberries and freshly picked New York apples. It's a 6.0 ABV. I've had this one before. It's pretty tasty, very light. I'm definitely more of a cider and sours kind of gal, but hopefully now being on here with Seamus and Nick, I'll expand my palate into more fun beers that I can discuss with you guys. And you can pick this up at your local ABC Liquors if you have one near you, or Publix.
We're just gonna change the name of the podcast to Fright or Cider, and we'll just start drinking ciders.
I like that.
We'll just do that.
But yeah, mine's already cracked open as well, so I can't do the cool effect for you guys. But you get the point.
Oh, they've had the effect enough. They know what it's like.
Right, they get
it. They don't need it. And we all know what I'm drinking. If we're doing this remote, it ain't gonna be anything fancy. Some more NFL beer for me.
Perfect.
Yeah, we are going to get together in person again at some point, but spring break is
we will do it
eventually.
My ass. We have excuses every week for it. So this week's excuse is it's spring break, but
I have an endless amount of excuses. I will rifle through that thing like Ryan from The Office. But let's get into the questions. I guess that's a good spot to kind of kick it off. So we asked on Twitter and Instagram just to see if anybody had any questions for Jamie to kind of see where she lands in this Horror Nights world. So I guess, you know what, before the questions, Jamie, why don't you just kind of give your little spiel? I know you made a post on through our Twitter page, but for anybody that necessarily didn't see that or didn't read fully into it, why don't you just kind of run down your connection with Horror Nights and all that?
Yeah. So I've lived in Florida my whole life. When I was younger, I always told my parents I was like probably 7 years old. I was like, let's go to Halloween Horror Nights. Let's go to Halloween Horror Nights. And my dad was like, you're going to hate it. We're not going to go. It's going to be a waste of money. So finally they took me, I think when I was 8 or 9, I think my first year I went was 2005. And I absolutely hated it. I said I was never going back again. I thought it was terrifying. I don't think I did one house that year, and I talk about it all the time that I loved it so much, but it was the school when they had it as a house. And yeah, I just remember my mom was like, this is too much like Children of the Corn. I hate it. It's not going to be fun. And it's the only house that I went into that I wasn't as scared of that. And then probably 2 years later, I went back again. Really enjoyed it since I was a little bit older. Still scary, but it was really fun. But now I try to go as often as I can year per year. I don't like to miss years. I missed a couple back. I think I missed 15 and a couple other ones and stuff like that. But yeah, I've been doing the event for a long time. I'm really excited to be talking about it now and actually getting to discuss it with other people. What's another good thing about my horror movie genre taste? I don't know. I kind of think I really like good movies. I think I have good movie taste, but a lot of them are kind of your typical B-grade horror movie. I really like the rednecky horror, Rob Zombie movies. I like the psychological thrillers. It Follows, like I mentioned in my little post, Donnie Darko, a lot of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm still a little nervous being on here. I'm a little nervous behind the microphone and stuff like that, but hopefully I'll get warmed up to everyone as the time goes on. But yeah.
Yeah, so let's jump into some of these questions just to
Cool.
kind of get a little bit more in depth. So we're just going to go. What was your favorite show at Halloween Horror Nights?
Oh, this was an easy one. When I had seen these questions on the Instagram, definitely I automatically thought Bill and Ted. I was really glad I got to do this for the couple of years that I had gone and when they had it and stuff like that. But when I went to Halloween Horror Nights, when they had Carnival of Carnage, Jack had his little Jack's like sideshow or whatever. I forgot what it was called, but that was really, really fun too. And I liked watching that one. But definitely Bill and Ted. I love the nostalgia of it. I just have great memories going there. And it was a nice break from all the spooky stuff when I was younger. So that was always nice.
Yeah, so then what would be your favorite HHN year you've been to?
Honestly, even though I just mentioned it too, but Carnival of Carnage, I think, was a really good year. It just had so many big names. I mean, Freddy, Leatherface, Jason. It was just such a good time. And then one of my favorite houses from there that I always mention too is the Dead Silence house that year, The Curse of Mary Shaw, which was phenomenal. I loved that movie when it first came out. They also, like I said, I was probably 11 when I went to this one, but they had the Nightmare on Elm Street Dreamwalkers. And I was too scared to go in it. And now growing up, when I'm so into it and stuff like that, I really regret not going. So I was way too scared to do Leatherface. I didn't want to go into Freddy. Again, I went with my parents this year and my dad's like, well, you're getting a little bit better, but still got to get out there. But 2005 was a great year, honestly. It had good houses. It had good scare zones all around. I just think it was really good. I also like 2016 as well. I think that was a good year too. When they had, I think that was Chance's year, her first like main year as an icon.
Yeah. So
yeah,
you mentioned the I word. So if you had to pick an icon, who is your favorite icon?
Oh, I'm a Jack gal through and through. Whenever I think of Halloween Horror Nights, Jack instantly is what comes to mind. There is a lot of great icons, don't get me wrong, but he's my man. I'm pretty basic about it.
Then let's get into the last two aspects, I guess, of Horror Nights, and that would be
right.
Your house. So what's your favorite house? And if you can't do favorite one, why don't you do three? Because the next question, Rob gave you the options. He said, what's your favorite scare zone?
I like that.
Or three if you can't pick one. So let's do the three
yeah.
if you can't pick one for both of these. So let's start with your favorite house and then we'll do scare zone. So 3 houses and then 3 scare zones that I guess define you or just up your alley.
That's perfect because I'm very indecisive and it was really hard to choose one. So I was like, I'm just going to give them some options. So for favorite houses, by far, House of Thousand Corpses. I have to say, I called it the year that House of Thousand Corpses was coming. That's the only time I'll give myself credit for it. But House of Thousand Corpses, it was great. I love the movie so much. I think they did a great rendition of it for the house. Funny enough, unfortunately, I only got to go into the house that year one time. I feel like every time we would go back around to it, the line would be kind of long. And I'm like, we'll come back. We have the frequent fear. I'll just do it a different day. And we just never got around back to it. But the time that I did, I really loved and appreciated it so much. And I wish I could have got to do it more. And we did the behind the scenes, the unmasking tour, and I was really hoping it was going to be on our tour, but it wasn't. But still, it won House of the Year that year. It was great. I'm really got the recognition that it needed. For another house, I'm pretty basic. I should have prepped for this a little bit better, but like I had said before when we were talking about the different years and stuff like that, my favorite year for another good house that I liked was Dead Silence. I love that movie. It's kind of silly, but I've always liked it even when it first came out and stuff like that. And just how they had you walking through, if you guys have seen the movie, when you're walking through the auditorium, they really had it make it seem like you were walking across like the balcony of the theater with the walls of dolls around you. And it was just so spot on to the movie with how they did it. And it was pretty creepy too. So I'd like that a lot. I didn't really think of three hats. Killer Clowns. By far. I was going to say Killer Clowns was such a good house. I loved it when they had the scare zone. It was so fun. I knew the house was going to be even better, but it just exceeded my expectations by far. I just thought it was amazing. It was really good.
One of us.
Yeah, right?
Well, one of us. So scare zones, I guess. Where do you land on your top 3 scare zones or scare zones that define you?
I really love the classic, like, Halloween vibe. So, how do I explain it? So, I don't want to say just because it was so recent, but the Sweet Revenge Scare Zone, loved it. I thought it was wonderful. It was so classic Halloween. It just made you feel like you were in a old-timey, like, carnival, like, era kind of style thing. And I really like that. Not so much carnival, but, like, I really don't even know how you would explain it, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. Kind of going hand in hand with each other, Vamp 55 and Vamp 85. I love vampires. Both decades that they did, I thought were really good choices and really fun spins that they were able to do with the vampires. And that was when they had it in 2016. That was the first year that I went, that I actually had some friends that were scare actors, so it was really cool seeing them in there too. A third scare zone. Honestly, a lot of people didn't like this one. I had not super high expectations for it, but I really got into it kind of before the event, and I thought it was really cool. The Crypt TV Scare Zone was actually really fun. I watched all the shorts that they had on YouTube and all that kind of stuff getting ready for it, and just all the different creatures and monsters were fun, but I just wish they had more space to do more with it, to make you more immersed in the different shorts that they did have for the scenes and stuff like that.
So then I need to pull up the Twitter because there was also a couple questions on there from people asking, wanting to get to know you a little bit more. So one of them is, what's your favorite slasher film and beer style?
So beer style, as I had mentioned, I really do like the sours and the ciders. I used to mostly just be into ciders, really didn't drink too much beer, but I can't say that I'm on Fear and Beer now. But
we'll initiate it.
Exactly. But I do like the ciders too. I've been getting into some really fun ones. Hidden Springs Ale Works over in Tampa has some really cool beers over there, and especially a lot of fun sours. Yeah, Nick likes it too. I was gonna say Nick loves it too. But favorite slasher movie. I mean, I gotta go with Mikey. My classic Halloween, the original. I love Michael Myers. Can never get enough of him. I always talk crap, saying he's never going to die, all this kind of shit. And I always say how are they making another one? But I love it every time. Don't get me wrong. Was it the last one that just came out? That wasn't that great out of the franchise. I honestly didn't like that one that much. I feel like the storyline just kind of didn't go anywhere with what they had done with some of the characters. I think Nick really liked that one. He said that one was okay, but wasn't a huge fan of it. But definitely Halloween would be a favorite slasher of mine.
I liked it. I liked it because it was different. It was, it took some chances, and whether they completely paid off or not, I guess is a
Mhm.
different discussion. But I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's, in the top 5 for me, but I
Right.
definitely think it beats out some of the other ones that are in the middle.
That's not true.
So if you had a preferred stay and Scream location, are you more of Duff Gardens or Finnegan's?
So I saw this question on Twitter. I haven't really done Stay and Scream too much. We did it, I think I've done it 2 years
We did
maybe in the past, or 3 years. Have we done it before? I think
at
I've
least-
only done it. I've only done it
yeah.
a couple times.
At
You
least
guys
the
have done
last
it.
2 years.
Right.
Last year was mostly Finnegan's for us, and then the year
Yeah.
before that, Simpsons. So
Was Simpsons, yeah. Honestly, I mean, I kind of like both in the sense that last year when we were at Finnegan's, I feel like the big IP house was Halloween that was up there, and why am I forgetting this right now? Dead Man's Wharf was up there. Am I saying Dead Man's Wharf right? What am I thinking of right now?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I say, Dead Man's Wharf.
Yep,
But yeah,
and
Halloween was up
Chupacabra.
there, Dead Man's Wharf, and Chupacabra was up there. Really good
Mhm.
houses to get out of the way, especially with Halloween, since for the majority of the event, it was just such a long line, and it was nice getting to do that a couple times. But I feel like it was too congested at Finnegan's. Like, you couldn't really sit inside. There was just a shit ton of people out there, even outside how they kind of like lined you up. I feel like when you were at Duff Gardens, you had a little more leeway, a little more space to relax and stuff like that. And a lot of the good original houses that they have in the back right there by Men in Black and stuff like that are always nice ones to hit first too, because it's usually not as more packed in the back right away, I guess. But yeah, so I guess both of them have their pros and cons. But
And then they also asked, arrive later or use Express? And I know the answer.
so funny enough, I've never used Express, never had an Express pass.
Join the club.
Yeah, exactly. But after last year, I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is something I should invest in. Because don't get me wrong, like, it's nice. Like, I'm really lucky living so close to the event and stuff like that, that I can honestly work in the morning, get out of work at 6 o'clock, and go to the event at 8 o'clock and be happy with it. But not everyone could do that. And seeing how much more popular the event has gotten and how many more people have been going, probably would like to invest in the Express. I think it'll be nice not trying to rush throughout the night and stuff like that. Even though we do go so many times, it's still nice to get stuff done, because even if you want to go without it and it's so busy, you're like, we'll just walk around, get drinks, get some food, and maybe do a house, whatever. But it's still fun to get stuff done when you're there and whatnot. So usually more of an arrive late gal, but probably gonna start getting Express.
And then lastly, what do you consider to be the most underrated house?
Underrated house. When I saw this question too, I was really thinking about it, and I was like, underrated. I was like, maybe I think it's underrated, but other people think it's good. But I had mentioned it before too, and I'll always get hyped to this house. So I guess it's because I have such like a special like place in my heart for this house. But when they did the school in 2005, and even though I was so scared to go to the event and stuff like that, that's the one house that I did that I really, really enjoyed. And honestly, the setup of it was so cool. How they had the I actually, thinking about it now, I do think when you were walking through the queue for the house, they did have like, it made it seem like you were in a cornfield, and they did have corn that year. And I don't remember if a hurricane hit that year, but I think Charlie was the year before Hurricane Charlie when that happened. So I don't know if the bad luck got them that year, maybe a year later, but really how they did it, kind of old school farmy style house. The children go evil, they start killing the parents. And I really liked back in the day for Horror Nights when they did it too, when they would play the original shorts for the houses on the big TV on the screen projectors. They still are doing it now, which is really nice, but not as detailed and in-depth and like more of a series like they used to do. So I always thought that was really cool, and I'll never forget that house. And I thought it was really nice and Welcome to Scary that they put the little ode to it in it. So yeah.
All right. So I think that kind of wraps up our little mini Q&A. That was a good job. I think that gives everyone a fair idea of what to expect. We're going to have even more debated discussions when we start talking about movies, because now I think the three of us are pretty far apart on a lot
Very
of stuff.
different.
I think it's going to be a good little trio right there. So let's get into this speculation map. So obviously this was posted a little while ago, and stuff may have changed, may not have changed. We don't really have the full answer of it, but we're going to go off of just what is on that map from Horror Night Nightmares. So Seamus, do you want to kind of walk through the map a little bit, house by house, and kind of we can, me and you can throw our 2 cents in, and then Jamie can give her impressions or thoughts on these potential ones coming our way.
Oh, I can't
Yeah, we
wait.
can do that. Yeah, so I mean, I won't go through each specific location that they're in. We'll just go through the list itself, or from the
Yeah.
map
Yeah.
itself. Obviously, the first one has already been confirmed. It's been confirmed since October of last year, so we all kind of know this one's coming. But the Chucky house, I think I think as Nick and I have said before on a couple of the episodes we've talked about the spec map, where it's kind of a take it or leave it currently for us, at least for me.
Yeah, I'm
not
boat.
not super excited, but also not super like adverse to it either. I'm sure they'll find a way to make it good, but I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But Jamie, how did you feel about that when we first heard about it? And has your opinion kind of changed since when they announced it, or is it kind of the same, or maybe even less so? Have you seen the show?
So it really did change a little bit. When they first announced it, I was like, oh, it's Chucky. They'd have before. Like, I like Chucky, but I don't love Chucky. Child's Play was never anything like spectacular to me. Like, loved it so much. But I do have to give it the benefit of the doubt. So I know the house is going to be based off the new series that came out. Finally, one day I was off work. I binged the whole series in a day, the first season, because they had it on Shudder, and I really liked it. I honestly thought it was really good. And now seeing that they're going to implement it as a house, I could definitely see scenes from the show that they could fit and mesh into the house really well. And I'm going to give it a shot, honestly. I always like to give everything a chance at least, but there's just some on the spec map that we'll get into later, but I really don't know where they're thinking with this, but I'm going to give it a chance. I think it'll be okay, honestly. I haven't seen the second season of the show yet. I'm not sure if they're going to do both seasons in the house or just the first one, but yeah, I think it'll be all right. Like I said, it's Chucky. It's nothing to wow over, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I'm still in that same boat where I still have not seen the show yet, but it's
Right.
nothing that completely tickles my fancy. It's fine. I know name style, it's like a quote unquote headliner, but for me, it's not, so I'm just kind of, my opinions have not really changed yet on that. It's there. It's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah. Well, that leads us into the next one, and I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. But obviously, we're going to have another Universal Monsters house. This one hasn't been confirmed, but obviously being, more or less figured out, like the clues that were figured out by the community pretty quickly. Another Universal Monsters house. This one supposedly is going to be Phantom of the Opera and Dracula in some fashion, so another versus house probably. Again, we all know how I feel about it, so we'll just leave that to the side. But Jamie, I know you're kind of more of a Universal Monsters fan.
I do like the monsters. I do.
I guess more pointedly, how do you feel about it being Phantom and Dracula if that were to be the case?
So when I first saw that on the spec map, or I saw people on Twitter talking about it and whatnot when it first was mentioned, I like Dracula personally. In the Universal Monsters house last year, whenever Dracula popped up, I would just get so excited. I love seeing him in there. When he was the one picked at the end, I was like, oh, they got him, damn. But when he won a couple times, I was like, oh, yay. But Phantom of the Opera, I've never seen the original film. It's nice seeing little bits and pieces of him inside the different houses that they have done with Universal Monsters and stuff like that, just because you don't really get as much well-known like hype for him as you would some of the other monsters. But I really wish they would have done it. I really think Creature should be incorporated more in Universal Monsters house than it was before, or at least get its own house. I just think it would be so fun. I know it'd be kind of hard to do because it's mostly underwater scenes and whatnot, but I just love Creature. Or something with the Invisible Man. I feel like they could have done something like really fun and like kind of cool with that, in the sense of how they work with the mirrors and all that kind of stuff in the houses. But yeah, like I said, nothing I'm excited over or over the moon about, but still would be cool.
Yeah. I mean, you say you're a fan of Dracula. I mean, so it wouldn't really bother you that we've gotten 2 years in a row. Like, I know
no, of course not.
Obviously, with like the mashup house that we got
right
3 years ago, whatever it was, he was obviously a big part of that. But Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm not gonna dwell on it.
I really didn't know you felt that strongly about it, to be honest.
Nick and I have talked about it a couple times.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to bore the audience again, but I don't get excited about these versus mashup. Like, let's put two random
I don't
characters
like the versus
together.
aspect. I don't like that. I'll give it that.
I would much rather prefer just give me a solo house for each monster
Yes.
if you're gonna
Yes.
do one. I want to be able to explore that character more than just saying,
Mhm.
"Hey, we're gonna mash these two together."
That's
But
true.
obviously, I'm going to go through it and give it its due, and hopefully it'll catch on, and I'll enjoy it. This one maybe more so for me, just because I like Phantom.
Right.
Never seen the show. I've never seen the show on Broadway or like off Broadway, but
Mhm.
I have watched the silent movie before. I've seen other
Oh.
adaptations of it. But yeah, I mean, it's very much more my character.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm a little jealous if LA gets or Hollywood gets what I think they're gonna get. I'm more jealous about that because it's supposed to be Universal Monsters Paris is what's on the map, and to me that would be
That would be
Hunchback.
super cool. Yeah.
But obviously, we get different ones than Hollywood does. Maybe one of
Right.
them will get it, but I would be more amped for that. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Obviously, Nick, we understand. Like, you're kind of like in the middle when it comes to
Yeah,
these
it's I
monsters.
take it or leave it. The verses, if they mash up like aesthetically, then like cool, but like don't force it. Like so. I have to see what the story is that they're going to be putting these two together if it happens. We've said previously where we both think that pairing Phantom with Hunchback would probably work better, and it would
I
be
could
just
see
more
that
fun
better.
'cause it's two characters we have not seen since the original Monsters House
Mhm.
4 years ago or whatever it is at the point. But I got nothing against Dracula, but we had him in the first one. We had Dracula's Brides and Bride of Frankenstein. He was kicking around with the Mummy and Wolfman as this mysterious benefactor last time, like it was a fucking Scooby Doo episode. But to bring him back again, it's like, oh, okay, we get it. I understand, like it's Dracula and Frankenstein as like the most recognizable, and I get it, but I could do without it for at least a year or so, just to
Fair
pump the
enough.
brakes
Fair
a little bit
enough.
on old Dracky.
Yeah. So we'll move on. So the audience doesn't pitchfork me to death. So the next one, obviously not confirmed, has been heavily talked about, is a huge aspect of just American culture right now. Actually probably goes beyond American culture because we obviously can watch it internationally, but it's a very, very big thing. A lot of people have said a lot about the show online. I've heard nothing but good things. I have yet to watch it, but I need someone with HBO Max that I can steal it from for a month so I can watch the stupid show. But it is The Last of Us. I don't know if you guys have watched it yet. I haven't. I've played the video game in the past, but I haven't actually sat down and watched the show. Granted, as I think Nick and I have brought up before, I think that we feel, translating a really, really, really good in-depth story and like character study like you get with a lot of these shows like The Last of Us or The Walking Dead, where it's less about the setting and more about the people within that setting. And I think that's kind of what this show is all about too. Translating that to a haunted attraction or a house or a walkthrough or something like that can be hard to do and do it well. So I'm interested to hear, what your thoughts are about this. Do you think that it's going to be pretty good? Do you think that they might struggle to kind of really get across the point of the show in the house? And have you seen? Have you seen the show? Are you familiar with the characters in any way?
So I started watching it. I watched, I think, the first 3 or 4 episodes. The post-apocalyptic virus taken over, everyone's infected kind of things never really been haven't really been my gimmick or whatever, my interest too much. Never really was into The Walking Dead. I've actually never seen The Walking Dead, and I hated for bringing up again consecutive things. I just never got into it. Zombies never did it for me. But I've never seen The Walking Dead. I really haven't. I think it was called Planet Z or some kind of weird stuff like that. It was like a knockoff off The Walking Dead. I think I've watched a couple episodes of that. That's about it. But for something being too consecutive and repetitive at Halloween Horror Nights, I could not believe how much The Walking Dead was at Halloween Horror Nights and how much they kept bringing it back.
It was a big show at the time.
It was. I was going to say it got the big hype for it, which I get it. All right, but to get back on topic. So watch the first couple episodes of The Last of Us. After watching it, I actually really got into it. I just haven't found the time to get back and finish binging the rest of it, but I've never played the video game. From different scenes that I have seen from the show, even without playing the video game, you can watch it and definitely tell, like, damn, this is probably like the exact scene from like a video game. Like, this looks like it would be in a video game. And I think that aspect's really cool about it. How they might bring it into a house, I'm not really sure. It would be kind of cool if they would follow Ellie and Joel throughout the house kind of thing. They're taking you through. They're trying to, I haven't even watched it enough, the monsters, the fungus people, I forget what they're called, I think clickers and other weird stuff. But I think it would be fun like that if it took you through their trek trying to get out, kind of shortened up into a house. But like I said, haven't watched the whole thing yet, so I can't really give too much of an insight on it. But if it's done well, I think they could do a lot with the makeup and the mask work to make the characters look really, really cool and some of the monsters and stuff like that. So I think it could be good. A lot of people are pretty hyped up about it from the rumors that I've seen and stuff like that. I think a lot of people would enjoy it if it was done right.
Yeah, I haven't heard or seen anybody say they're not excited for it. Lots of really, really hype excitement, and then a lot of I'm trying to think of the right term here. They're patiently optimistic or patently, I don't know.
I know what you're trying to say.
Is that what I'm trying to say? Cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
Because I think for me specifically, again, not seeing the show, but knowing a lot about it, seeing a lot of things about it, seeing a lot of reviews of it, I think I am in that cautiously optimistic bucket. I think that they can do something with it. I just worry that if this is their biggest IP, as we've stated before, I think that the event may not be as much of a, like, you know, oh, I have to be there because of this particular house. So that's the only thing I worry about, because this, although it's a very, very, very well received show, I'm worried that it won't necessarily live up to that hype. That's the only thing I worry about.
Yeah, so I actually did watch this whole thing. I did finish it. I waited till the very end to binge it all at once because I hate waiting for things. So
I hear you.
I did watch it all. The part that for me, I think it's just going to be, I don't think it's going to be tough, but it's going to deviate a lot from the show because the show is very character driven. You know, it is about Joel and Ellie and their journey. And it almost seems like the stuff that I've heard people say, you know, from the game is, you know, you're killing all of these infected. Like, that's the main, you know, trials and tribulations of the characters that you're playing. But in the show, very much kind of like Walking Dead, it becomes, they're just kind of sometimes there, and it's more of a character driven thing. So with the house, it's going to be a lot more infected because that's what is expected in the house. You know, the makeup is going to be amazing, the characters are going to look really cool, but I think that aspect is just going to deviate from the series because they're two completely different styles, you know, character driven versus we're just going to scare you with characters. So where the characters and the infected are I don't want to say minimal, but they're definitely second thought and second nature in the show. In the house, that's going to be, you know, the primary is escaping them. And, you know, maybe they just take kind of a best of the show and best of, you know, virus infected attacks and just plunge that into the show because, you know, there's multiple episodes where the infected are a non-factor. You know, it's an amazing series,
right?
And it's done extremely well, but they don't focus as much on the infected. They're kind of just there. So I expect it to be a big draw, but I don't expect, you know, a full appreciation of the characters. You know, you're not going to get any development from a house.
Yeah, and I think that it's one of those things where if someone goes through it and doesn't really know any better, they could easily mistake it for, you know, a Resident Evil house or any other.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah,
right.
Something like that.
Any other zombie original house. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there has to be something that differentiates it. And if you
Mhm.
haven't seen the show in depth or played the game or aren't really well versed in the lore of that particular property, it'll be hard to kind of understand what's going on, other than just knowing that hey, it's scary clicker monsters. I mean, I think with the sound effects and the sound design, they can do a lot of things with it that are
Mhm.
unique to it. But same again, like if we watch that show primarily for Joel and the little girl, I keep forgetting her
Ellie.
name,
Ellie.
Ellie. God, Ellie. If you watch it for like them specifically, it's gonna be hard to translate that type of man. This show is so good, to a house. Whereas like you take something like American Horror Story, where very well acted, it's still pretty
Mhm.
character driven, but they're so unique theme wise that it still carries through if you were to do a house based on it. So, and it's just how I compare it sometimes to something.
Mhm.
But all right, well, now we're getting into some of the originals that they got on here. Obviously, this one I think is a pretty big like from all three of us. I would think.
Yeah.
This is Krampus original, so we can assume that it's not Krampus the movie.
Mhm.
Their own like take on Krampus, their own kind of like take on the story. I think Nick and I both were very much, if they're gonna do this, it needs to be like that, following that
Classic German
right,
Krampus.
exactly,
Uh-huh.
following along that line of, cultural fairy tale.
Mhm.
How we had Chupacabra was very much based in like a Latin,
Mhm.
theme. This needs to be more of a Germanic Gaelic theme,
Yeah.
specifically because that's where Krampus comes from, is like old Bavarian, villages. So that's
Right.
what we kind of for. So I would assume you're excited for this. I don't know. You can kind of explain what what your thoughts are on it, how you would maybe set up this house, what you'd expect.
Yeah. I am excited about this actually. If this was to happen, I think it would be really cool and I think they could do a lot with it. I think it'd be really fun. I think like you were saying, it would be like the classic Krampus style, how he looks in the books. I love the urban legends, urban myth, folklore, fairy tale style stuff, and I feel like that's a lot of what this house would be like. Me, when I'm picturing of it, I would think you'd be walking into an old kind of rickety old house from back when and stuff like that. And it's Christmas time, but classic Christmas, and the kids are there. Krampus shows up. You could have a big chimney scene and all this kind of stuff. I really don't know the original back lore of Krampus as to much to where I could put it into detail for describing the house, but thinking of it in my head, how it would look, I think it would be really fun. I really liked the Krampus that they had the house based off the movie that they did it, so I know they can do pretty well with it and stuff like that. But if that's the case, I'd really like to see it here. I think it'd be really fun. I think I'd really like houses based off of holidays. I always think that just makes it like Christmas is just creepy. I like Christmas creepy. I think it goes well together. So I think this could be cool.
Yeah, I'm still stoked on this thing.
Yeah.
I really hope this is
You know,
sticking
yeah.
around. But, I haven't really seen many rumors debunking this at this point, so let's just hope that it sticks around a couple more maps.
Right. And you guys got to let me know. I feel like I'm either talking too fast or not talking a lot. I'm a little
No, you're
nervous,
fine.
but okay.
You're good. You're coming
I
on
should
top.
have studied a little more, but I think we're doing okay.
Hey, we don't do our research. Just ask Nick. No research.
I was stressing hard. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to say?
Because
We'll
we'll
do my
get
hands.
to how that's the case in a couple of these. But
Right.
the next one is one of our first non-worded original, but it is
Yeah.
an anchor. We had a few ideas kind of go back and forth. I won't really get into the major details because I don't remember what we talked about in that episode.
Yeah,
in a
so
lot of
I
ways.
guess
Nick,
for the
you-
anchor one, I mean, as of recent rumors, it's sort of been transitioned into Invasion, the scare zone. So I guess we can just kind of
Oh,
not go off of anchor so much, but we can talk about Invasion.
I forgot
Yeah.
you'd mentioned that before.
Yeah, so I mean, Invasion again. I wasn't around for that scare zones, or that was a scare zone, right?
Yeah, you got a scare zone, but you
Yeah.
also saw just a little bit of it in Eddie's Revenge.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
The Alien.
Very true. All right, yeah. I mean, not that I remember much from that scare zone because I wasn't even in that scare zone.
It was one little actor guy on a little podium.
Yeah, he was cool. But yeah, so I feel like I really don't have too much to say about that either. I forgot that it was mentioned that it could have actually be the invasion and stuff like that. But I mean, from the little kiosk booth, the guy that they had in Eddie's Revenge Scare Zone, I thought he was pretty fun and cool. I like aliens. I mean, I like the futuristic, intergalactic type stuff like that. So I think it would be more of a fun house than it would be more so scary. But I still think they could do a lot with it, seeing as they'd had it as a scare zone previously. So they have something to work with. And usually the house sequels from a scare zone have been pretty good so far with what they've done with them. So could be interesting to see it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think like Nick brought up, if this is anything like Bug House in the sense that like you get that like aesthetic and have it kind of be like,
Your
invasion
favorite.
Hatcher type stuff.
Right.
Well, hey, as long as it's not bugs, I'm good. And I like aliens and sci-fi.
Yeah.
Creepy crawlies. But yeah, I think that if you're gonna do an alien house, I think it almost has to be that way.
Mhm.
Like if it's not gonna be killer clowns from outer space,
Right.
outside of doing like an actual alien house where you're on the Nostromo, it's the IP. It kind of almost has to be like invasion of, Mars attacks or something.
I was going to say Mars Attacks or something like that. Yeah.
It's not goofy, but it's just goofy enough that it kind of plays that
Yeah.
lighthearted house
Mhm.
role. So on to the next one that's pseudo confirmed, at least been proven, or at least supposedly proven through clues. I'm interested to get your take on this because we did talk about Chucky earlier,
Mhm.
but obviously we all think we're getting another Blumhouse house. This is the Blumhouse house for this event. Nick and I have gone on for great lengths. We think we're okay with the fact that we're now in this realm of, hey, just think 3 of your houses every year have to be within this particular universe. And
Right.
We have our thoughts on that, but I guess I'm more just interested to hear your thoughts on at least one half of this house. So it's Blumhouse Megan, or or Megan, or
right, exactly.
or
Who
female
knows
Chucky,
at this point?
or 2023. We have to have whatever. Megan and Insidious, which we assume would be the new movie coming out
Right.
in the series. So obviously, another split house. So you walk through one, walk through the other. I'm not a huge fan of the Megan movie, which we have all learned quite abruptly recently. But regardless, as a house, I can see how that would fit. But it's just to hear what your thoughts are, not specifically on just Megan, obviously. I mean, we could trash on that if you wanted to. But
Oh no, I think it's a no good, awful, terrible choice. I just don't understand. It's such a waste of an IP. If this guy, last year I was real disappointed in Freaky. The Black Phone, loved it, real hyped up. Not a fan of Freaky. Thought it was kind of goofy, kind of cheesy. And they did it to me again this year, where they put something good and they put fucking Megan with it. How can you have something like Insidious, which is so just spooky and good and scary, and then you're walking through a fucking hallway with a little girl dancing with a big machete paper cutter knife in her hand? I just don't. I do get the whole. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I get the whole split and stuff like that, and I get like. I feel like Megan was definitely trying to reach a certain crowd, and I was just not part of that crowd. I felt like it tried way too hard to be funny. It just, the jokes and everything, I feel like was just maybe more for like people after my time. Maybe I'm like, I don't even want to say I'm old, but maybe I'm too old now to get it. I just feel like it tried too hard to be funny. I don't really like horror and comedy mixed together. It wasn't really scary. I don't want to keep trashing it. I feel bad. It's my first episode on here and I'm just talking shit about it. But I just think it's a waste. I was so disappointed. I just think they could do so many other options when they had, when they had Sinister, and I think they had Insidious that year when it was like a 3-part Blumhouse, because I love Blumhouse, honestly. Great movies. A lot of my favorite movies are from Blumhouse. But I just think Megan is going to be a dud. I really didn't like the movie. I really gave it a shot. I just feel like the creepy dolls have been done. And especially with having Chucky, like, do they want it to be like the creepy doll theme for the year? I don't know if that's what they were going for, but just really not a huge fan of it. But no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I agree with everything you said.
Yeah.
And you'll learn quick. It's fun to be the person on the episode that everyone fun. It's fun. But you know
Right.
what? Don't worry about it. I will handle that role. I handle it. The audience doesn't like me for that reason.
Mhm.
But yeah, Megan is a trash movie. The movie's awful. I'll get into why I don't like it again. You can go back and listen to the review episode. But
Right.
we haven't spoken about the spec map really since we
Mhm.
did that episode. So let's go back a little bit. I am super bummed after watching that movie that if this is true, that
Yep.
we're getting 1.5 of the same house.
Yep.
I know they're different properties. I know they're different characters, but how much killer doll can you have?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, if it was different enough in the sense that it wasn't just stupid, and what I mean by that is like Chucky is Chucky. We all understand kind of like that's like the absurd parts of that movie,
Mhm.
but at least like there's a history there. Like if you go back and watch Child Play 1, 2, and 3, they tried to take it as seriously as they could with a killer doll story, and it worked for the most part. And then
Yeah.
in the 90s, when movies started to get more like Scream or more like
Mhm.
Blair Witch, where either you're gonna go into that like found footage, this is real shit that happened, like, or you're gonna go into the super meta. We know what we are. We know what we're making fun
Mhm.
of. And that's what Chucky did. Is Chucky kind of went into that direction, like took what Scream did, but made it like so much more like off the rocker. And I think that now, going back and doing the show, and I haven't watched the show yet. I know everyone's like, you gotta watch the show. I haven't watched the show yet, and so I haven't truly given it its due, and I will eventually do it. I'll eventually sit down and binge it. But I think that you kind of know what you're getting with Chucky,
Right.
so like it almost gets a pass in a way, at least
Uh-huh.
from me personally. So that's fine. But now you have another movie that they thought this is a good idea. Let's make this, because everybody, basically remakes or basically
Mhm.
just copies of something, and I think that's it's so lazy. And I wonder if did Universal know at the time when they announced Chucky that this movie was coming out, and if they did, were they were they aware that Blumhouse is going to request that they use this movie? You know what I mean? Like,
That's what I was wondering too.
were
Like,
they
how
kind of
did
like
that fall into place? Yeah.
stuck into a situation where almost like their hands were tied, I guess,
Mhm.
in the sense. I don't necessarily think that if this is true, if this is actually going to happen, I don't know if Universal necessarily knew, and now they kind of have to go with it,
Mhm.
because I can't imagine they would be like, yeah, let's just do 1.5 houses, the same basic premise.
Mhm.
And I know people are gonna be like, they're different movies, but okay, they're fine, they're different movies. But if I've got a killer doll, I'd rather Chucky than the super fabulous singing blonde haired.
She's an AI robot, actually. So
They'll say, and they'll be like, "Well, the difference is he's a demon he's a serial killer demon thing in a doll form, and she's an AI robot." Okay, fine, nerd, relax. Like,
Mhm.
either way, it's still the same basic thing, and it wasn't a good movie. Get over it. Like, it just wasn't good. So
And
I feel like
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I just feel like they're wasting a house by doing this again. If they were like, hey, we're gonna do Blumhouse, but we're gonna do Insidious and just have it be an Insidious house, I think
Mhm.
obviously I wouldn't complain. But I think for me, the fact that not only are we getting another split Blumhouse house that half of it is basically the same as another house that we're gonna get, I feel it's lazy.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping and I'm praying that if it does happen, Universal kind of had to do it, because Blumhouse is like, well, these are the properties you're getting. And they're like, all right, well, shit. And I guess we're going to have to do it. But I don't know. I guess we'll find out and we'll see what happens. I am surprised to hear that you didn't really like Freaky. That's surprising to me. I don't know why.
Nope.
But
honestly, I've I've never seen the whole thing. So I talk shit and I've never even watched the whole thing. I just always thought it looked kind of stupid just from seeing the trailers and stuff like that.
that is my MO. Just talk shit about shit I haven't seen yet.
But yeah, honestly, I'm surprised. I've seen so many people are like pretty hyped for it. I was like, I can't believe so many people liked it. I was really surprised.
I don't understand how it has like an 8, how it has a certified fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't understand that. Like,
A
what are
lot.
these people watching? I don't get it. I don't get it.
I always say I trust. I always talk shit and say, "Hey, Rotten Tomatoes is not accurate." Blah blah blah, all this kind of shit. But then there's some movies on there that I like that not many people else like, and it's got like a 95% rating, and I'm like, all right, maybe they know what they're talking about. But in this case, I really don't. I don't know how it did it.
One of the few movies that I don't like that both the audience and the critics are apparently all adoring. Like, I don't. Because normally the way it works with me is that most of the movies I like are the movies that are like critical darlings. The critics love it, but the audience score is usually like a 30% because
exactly. Yep, that sounds a lot like me.
And the fact that this movie, like I hated it so much that I figured it was gonna be like a 92% audience rating and 30% critic rating, but it's like an 89%.
They loved it.
Like a 70-something percent audience rating. But you know what? I think people, and again, this isn't me. This is me being pretentious. I just think this movie was like, it was made for such just the biggest, lowest common denominator of viewers.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean to. I don't know. It probably sounds awful. I'm an asshole. I just think that like it's so simple, and people are just like, it's a fun movie, and I can go watch it and laugh at it. But that's not why I watch these movies. I don't want to watch these movies to go sit in a movie theater and laugh at it.
Exactly.
For 25 minutes every scene. Like, this is why I hated seeing Midsommar in the theater, because I don't like going to see horror movies in movie theaters for the most part anyways, because I'd rather watch it alone, or at least with one other person.
Right.
In an intimate setting where it's dark and it's quiet and nobody's there to interrupt it, and that's what I hate about going to see these movies in theaters, because I feel like the audience interrupts the movie. Like half the time in Midsommar, they're all laughing at the movie partially because they're using it as a defense mechanism because they're afraid. But the other thing is like they go to these movies to get that like interaction with other people, and to me that bothers me, because like I'm trying to watch this and understand what's going on and follow the story, and it's making me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
This movie is supposed to make you feel uncomfortable, but you're all laughing at it because that's your defense mechanism to feeling uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Either way, I feel like it's a waste of time. I feel like going to see that movie just to laugh at it the whole time is like, that's a waste. Like, that's pointless.
It's not a horror movie. Like, I get it. They didn't want it to be a full-on horror movie, but like,
right. I mean, if it's an 80s B movie where like,
hey, I like B movies.
let me finish. I'm not like they're intentionally bad, and they know they're intentionally bad. That's different. Like that, I'll watch that and laugh at it. But like a movie that's trying to be taken serious, and I think I didn't want to dwell on the damn movie, and I'm sorry, I'm already dwelling in the movie. But like
I started it.
I feel like they tried to want to feel relevant, and it's not. But I digress. I don't want to keep going with this rant. I've already wasted ranting about the Megan movie. I'm sorry, fans of the Megan movie. Don't add me. So let's go to the next one. This is, going back to saying that Nick and I don't do research. Lair of the Banshees. Apparently, this was what was it? Was it a house?
Scare Zone, I think.
Yeah. So this was a scare zone at 26.
Okay, so it was a scare zone. I wasn't at 26, obviously. So I guess if you were, lay it out on us. Let us know like what it was like. If you weren't, are you still kind of excited about this house? I know nothing about it. I know that Nick and I were kind of like, oh, this would be kind of cool if it was like an Irish banshee or a Gaelic banshee, but clearly it's not. Clearly it's something that they've already done once in the past. But I have very little or next to none as far as like anything to go back and look upon to go, all right, this is what it's going to be like. So any light you could shed on this for me would be great. And how do you feel about this particular original?
Yeah, well, fun fact, the other day I actually learned what a banshee was. I was over here thinking, and I'm like trying to tell Nick, and I'm like, this is a banshee. It's like one of those weird like monster, like demon creatures, kind of like a chupacabra kind of thing. He was like, no, it's not. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it is. And I was like, give me 1 second. So I looked it up, and I was like, shit, you're right. I was like, I was way off here. So I was like, I have no clue what they're going to do with this. I did go 26, and my memory shouldn't be as bad as it is, but it is terrible now. I do remember briefly walking through it a couple times at 26. I don't have the best memory of it, to be honest with you. I can't remember shit from it, actually. But I feel like don't have as much input to put onto it, just because I don't really know the whole backstory of Banshees and stuff like that, and the Irish connection that it has with it and stuff like that. But like I had said before, I do really like the folklores and urban myths and legends and tales and stuff like that. So it'd be something like that. I'd be down for it. I think it could be cool.
Yeah, I mean, again, I probably should go back and like watch videos or see pictures of
Right.
of the scare zone to get a better understanding of what's going on. But I also may like, I like to keep kind of be kept in the dark too. So maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just kind of like go into it blind. But we'll see. The next one is another original called Devil Dogs. Nick explained to me this was a movie or a fake movie in the Slaughter Cinema House back in whatever event that was. I guess just what are your thoughts about it? Do you think this is more along the lines of another Slaughter Cinema, or are we going to get just a House of the Devil Dogs? I know that I think was there something that had come out where it's like this wasn't necessarily what we think it's going to be, or
Yeah, I think this one has sort of been debunked at this point, but I guess we can kind of briefly touch upon the tie-in or Slaughter Cinema, or if that's something that kind of you'd interest in. I mean, I know the answer, but go on.
It's almost like you guys knew each other before we invited her on.
It's crazy. But yeah, so to be honest, when I first saw this on the spec map, I immediately didn't even think of Slaughter Cinema. I should have known that. I don't think I went the year when it did Slaughter Cinema, but Devil Dogs, I was thinking Dogs of Havoc when they had that years before. So I was like, oh, it's going to be like a bunch of like big buff guys with like gas masks and like machetes and all this kind of crazy shit. But I guess it wasn't. But honestly, same thing. I don't really have too much input on it. It could have been cool. It could have been something. If it was something related to Slaughter Cinema, that could be really fun. But yeah.
Yeah, Cinema was 28.
I don't think I went that year, actually. 29, 31, 32. I might have skipped that one, or I just didn't do the house and don't remember. But yeah.
It's definitely a house that would be right up your alley.
Yeah, you think so?
Yes, with all the fake B grade.
I was gonna say the classic-y,
schlocky,
stupid, yeah. That would be
was
fun, though.
Werewolves riding motorcycles, right? So
That would be kind of cool.
All right, so the next one. This one is created quite a stir, quite a list of consternation amongst the community. We at least online. It is the icon, the logo of a guitar with a lightning bolt. I know that Nick and I, one of our thought was, well, here we go. This is another musical guest artist house. But there has been some chatter that this could potentially be, or maybe just this is what Nick came up with. I forget. I don't know how he came to this conclusion, but I think there might be chatter going on that it could be related to Stranger Things in some form or fashion.
People were still hoping
because of the guitar and the lightning and that kind of all being related in some way. What do you think? Like, what are your thoughts on it? I mean, I guess we can kind of just make it more of a general discussion about how do you feel about if it is another musical artist house.
Right.
Are you bummed about that? Are you more indifferent? Are you cautiously hopeful that it's something that would make sense? Or do you think, do you buy into the idea that it could be Stranger Things? Because obviously we have Stranger Things season 5 coming out soon. Or isn't that to come out this year?
Not soon, but they're going to start filming, I believe,
so
shortly. So it won't be out.
What, 2025?
Year, so probably 24, late 24, if I had to guess.
Yeah. I mean, it would be. Originally when I saw it, obviously I saw the guitar and I was like, oh, it's got to be a musical artist or something like that. Which, when Rob Zombie had the Scare Zone and had House of 1,000 Corpses, I thought that was really cool. I know they've done Alice Cooper before. I'm not sure if they did it here. I know they did it in Hollywood, I think. And depending on if it was a musical artist, what it could be, or if it was rock inspired or the metal genre or something like that, I feel like they could do a lot with it. I know in years past, people have said that Gore would make a really cool house, or like different stuff like that, Ice Nine Kills, whatever. But if it was Stranger Things, I would be pretty hyped up because I love this last season. I definitely gave into the hype, hate giving into the hype, but I really, really enjoyed it. And if that's the case, I would love that. And I honestly would be really disappointed if they didn't bring it back because I thought last year they were going to have it. And then I was like, oh, they're definitely going to bring it next year if they're not going to do it this year. Whatever, no big deal. But I haven't really seen much people talking about it. So if that was the case and they're bringing it, awesome. I would love it. If not, kind of disappointed. But I didn't really have any ideas if it was a musical artist, who it would be or who they would pick or who they would choose. If it'd be someone they've already done from the past or something completely new. I mean, put it this way, I would really hope it wouldn't be another Weekend or how Billie Eilish was rumored and something like that, because I just thought that was terrible. The Weekend House was pretty good though, don't get me wrong. I actually really enjoyed it. I was pleasantly surprised. It was fun. But I just feel like that doesn't fit with the whole genre of Horror Nights or the vibe of Horror Nights. And I know they wanted more of a bigger and different crowd to come that originally wouldn't come to Horror Nights. And I know that's what these artists can do sometimes when they do have their houses at Horror Nights. But I'm interested to see what this one's going to be because I really didn't have too many good guesses or opinions of what it could have been. I would have never thought of Stranger Things. That's actually really smart. That makes sense now that you'd mentioned that. But yeah.
Yeah, the only reason that it gives us pause because it isn't marked original. So unlike the other
exactly
logo, there's no original there. So it could go either way. It could be like a straight up IP, or it could be some sort of obviously with the guitar, some sort of musical artist in some way. Yeah, I think we're all kind of like on different opinions of whether or not it should be another musical artist or not. Again, I'm maybe not. Maybe I'm just saying that I'm more indifferent. Like if it happens, fine. I mean, we're already getting another Blumhouse, probably another Universal Monsters house. So it's like it's kind of going down the road of we're gonna have just a pattern of things
pretty similar.
Because it's what either they've got signed out, year after year, or it's just like a pattern that they realize works, brings people into the park. But when we did kind of bring up Stranger Things, it almost makes too much sense. But then at the same time, excuse me, if the show is not going to come out till next year or the year after, I can't imagine that they would do a house this quickly.
Yeah.
It sucks because you're right. For me, like season 4 was it brought Stranger Things back to like the top. I mean,
yes.
I guess this is what I'm like. Season 3 was okay. Season 2 was okay. Season 1 was really good, but season 4 is like, damn, like, hey, we're back. You forgot about you. Don't you forget about us? Because like it was such a good season. Like it was so easy to binge that because it was so well done.
It was.
So I mean, I think that would be a huge like bomb drop if they actually were to announce that, hey, we're gonna have Stranger Things season 4 at the event. I think a lot of people are gonna be like super pumped on that just because I think Nick brought it up the last time we talked about this, was that Vecna is such a good character to bring into the house. He's more, just because he's more humanoid and he's more of a character than the Mind Flayer, and even more so than the oh my god, not oh my god, what are the guys in the first season?
The Demogorgons.
Demogorgons.
Oh my god, I can't think. I'm getting old. Hey, everybody, I'm getting old. I forget things. Demogorgon. I think he's even better than Demogorgons, who are really good monsters, but they don't talk. So there's not a lot there to act outside of like physical actions. But he can like, you can get that deep voice. He can kind of like, and you really kind of mix in the music too this time. Like you really get like the 80s vibe with the music and stuff because it was a big part of this season. So I'd be pumped if that was the case. If that's truly what this means. Who knows? It's probably going to all change by Spec Map 2 drops, or whatever the next Spec Map is. But I don't know. We'll find out when that happens. So to move on to the last one, because we're already dragging on in time, is the Japanese characters original, which I guess translates to Japanese monsters. Again, I don't know if we've kind of debunked this yet or not. I know there was a couple that were debunked or kind of debunked, but let's just pretend this is actually going to happen. Japanese monsters, we kind of guessed that would more along the lines of like a Gaiju type house, like a Godzilla or along those lines. I'm not sure how much of a Gaiju fan you are. I'm not a huge fan of it. Sorry, Jimmy. But I wasn't sure if it'd be something you'd be into or something you enjoy. Like,
Mhm.
I not necessarily it's going to be like a monster, like big old monsters destroying a city type thing,
Right.
but it could just be some Japanese cultural based themed monster house.
Mhm.
I'm excited just because of the intrigue of it, like not really knowing what this could be. Plus, I'm in love with the Japanese culture, and I love
Yes.
Japanese horror
Mhm.
and just Asian horror in general. But like, I love Japanese horror specifically, so I'm kind of really hyped just to find out what this could turn out to be.
Right. Yeah, and same kind of thing that you're going to say. I have such a love and an appreciation for Japanese culture, and when I saw this on there, and I was like, "Wow, that'd be kind of cool." And getting back on like the Gaiju monsters and like stuff like that. Not that I don't like them. Not as big as a fan of Jimmy, obviously, but I do like them. They are interesting to me. Not something I'm a huge fan of. So, but when you said it translated to the Japanese monsters, before getting on the episode earlier today, when I was at work, actually, I looked it up. Maybe it's just my Google Translator, but it translated to Japanese good luck when I looked it up, and I was like, maybe that's got nothing to do with it, whatever. And I was like, this is getting me nowhere. But if it was Japanese inspired monsters kind of house or something like that, I would think it would be fun to see more kind of anime style character monsters that they have, because like the Godzilla and like those big things and like big like dragony kind of Godzilla monsters are pretty cool, but I just feel like the different other monsters that they have in little subcultures and shows and animes and whatnot are just really different looking and kind of really creepy and really cool, and I think they could do something really fun with this, so I'd like to see what ends up being it.
I agree.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think it necessarily has to be like in the realm of the Gaiju type movie,
Right.
But I mean, I think just a lot of people when they see that initially think that because Godzilla, like that's just
Exactly.
the biggest thing. I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens. I also did say that I kind of wouldn't be opposed to them maybe pulling something from one of the Tokyo events
Oh,
or
that would
whatever.
be
I
cool.
don't know if they're in Tokyo or I forget where exactly the park is, but
Mhm.
if they pulled maybe a house from one of those events and brought it here and kind of reworked it to fit like an American audience, that would be kind of cool.
That would be really cool.
I guess we'll see what happens. But those are the 10 houses on the spec map. Overall, I mean, how do you feel? Are you super excited? Are you cautiously like, we'll see what happens? I mean, does anything super jump out at you initially? Like that's got to be a house I go through.
So it's safe to say that nothing really, I don't want to be mean, but nothing really impressed me on this map from what it was so far. The only thing that I could say that I would be excited for, and it'd only be part of the house, is Insidious. Don't get me wrong, I really like the originals. Krampus, I think will be really good. I'm actually pretty excited for that one, but I do have a lot of love for the IPs too. I just love seeing what you watch in the films being brought to life in the houses, and I feel like they always do such a great job with it, and it's really fun. But like I said, nothing really stuck out to me as being like, damn, like I can't wait to go through that. I just know it's going to be so cool. But like I said, depending on how much the map is going to change and stuff like that, if it's going to switch up, if we're going to get a lot of these things on here, I know it's usually pretty accurate, but I'm really intrigued to see what they're going to do and what they're going to add for some of these originals and stuff like that and how it's going to pan out.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
I think for me, I'll just reiterate what I said on our first Spec episode. If they want Last of Us to be that big IP,
Mhm.
that big draw, I don't see that being the
I don't
case.
either.
I don't think it's, at least from my opinion or from my personal opinion, and I think, and I again, humble Seamus, I think that my opinion matches a lot of other people, and it's like you want that one big IP name to be like, damn, like they got that,
Mhm.
and they have that here. At least from from my perspective, I don't think they have that, and if they're banking on The Last of Us being that, I think they're going to be somewhat disappointed by it.
I
So
agree.
I don't know, Nick, how you feel about that, but that's kind of how I look at it right now.
Yeah, it's fine. Like I am expecting a lot of changes. So be very interested to see when this next spec map comes out. I think maybe in the next month, probably April at some point. But
Yeah.
I do feel like there's been a lot of recent rumors and talk just about how there's belief that behind the scenes, Horror Nights is sort of catching wind of these rumor mills and all the possibilities and stuff like that. So they're trying to almost trick people and giving out fake names and associating a house with a variety of IP names just to kind of catch people off guard. So it feels like it's a different speculation season. I feel like there's a lot up in the air. I don't know how much of this one's going to stay true, and that's not, by the Horror Night Nightmares kind of just guessing at this point, but it's really just come down to Universal playing a serious game of defense right now. So
Yeah,
I think
believe that.
yeah, I just think that we're going to see a lot of changes.
Yeah.
So I think that about wraps up our main segment where we kind of get everyone up to speed where everyone is currently standing on this speculation map. So before we jump off, let's talk about the horror movie of the week or horror watch of the week. So does anybody want to kick this off and talk about something that you might have watched this week?
I actually have like a legitimate like horror movie that I've watched. The last couple of weeks, I've been giving meh selections, I guess. They're not like horror selections, but so I watched a movie on Shudder. Apparently, it was huge, like the end of last year, and I didn't realize it was so huge. Huge in the sense that everybody was talking about it. And when I say everybody's talking about it, it's not necessarily that everybody's talking about it. I'm like, man, this is a must see. This is a very divisive movie, as far as I can tell. It's called Skinamarink.
Oh.
So, all right, so Jamie knows what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
I don't think Nick knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, I do.
We watched
I
it.
wanna
You
hear
do?
your thoughts.
Oh,
I wanna
you've
hear your
watched
thoughts
it.
on this.
I'm very
You watched
interested.
it? Oh, okay. All right. So I wanted to preface this by saying, Nick, I think you're gonna hate this movie. So now I'm interested in what you think about it. This is very much a Seamus movie. To a point. I'm glad I didn't watch this. We'll just say under the weather, if you catch my drift. I feel like you'd want to claw your eyes out watching this movie. But this is exactly like literally like when we talk about movies and we do killer reviews, all these different things, and we talk about this podcast, or we talk just in personal, or if you come across us in the street and we have a discussion about horror, I always say that it has to be a movie that makes me feel a certain way to really be effective. This is the epitome, or just this is like the person. This is just like the example of what I'm talking about. There is not a lot that goes on in this movie, but that's the beauty of it. It's so esoteric, so it's shot so well. It's shot so well done. It's so out there. It creates that sense of like just that carnal fear you had as a child. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to, the best way to explain this is like, it's that feeling, it provides that feeling of being in bed at night, not being able to sleep, staring into the darkness and not knowing what's out there.
Like you're in a fever dream, kind of.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, and it's one of those movies that like every other scene, I'm sitting there and I'm getting that feeling in the pit of my stomach, like, oh my god, like this is unrelenting, and it's an hour and 40 minutes long too. That's the crazy thing. It's one of those movies where it's like you'd think, oh, this is gonna be like a 90-minute like max, or like 60-minute even. Like it's like almost like a YouTube type situation, which funny enough, the director of this movie actually started on YouTube. He was making YouTube videos, kind of like the progenitor of what we call analog horror. And it's kind of what this movie is analog horror. But there's just so many times you're watching this, and because of like the film, I forget what you call it or whatever, but like it's filmed in a way that it feels old, and the murky blackness of the shot, like it moves. So you're like, shit, is something there, or am I just seeing things? And it does that so well. it's I don't know. I could sit here and gush over this movie for like an hour and a half. We could do like a full review on it. But I have nothing but nice things to say about it. Like I just think it's just what I'm looking for. It's like chef's kiss. Like that's exactly what I want when I say watching a horror movie. And I know that I can just tell Nick didn't like this movie at all.
No.
I knew we were gonna be completely different.
This thing so much is oh god, it's just B-roll. All it is B-roll. This guy shot the fucking ceiling and then he shoots the wall. He said he came from YouTube. Of course he came from YouTube. He needs to stay the fuck on YouTube. This guy sucks. There's no story. It's a shot of a toy. It's a shot of a wall. There's a door. The door's gone. There's a window. The window's gone. I lasted an hour into this fucking thing.
I made an hour.
And I walked away. I just walked out of the room. I couldn't watch this piece of shit garbage movie anymore. I can't say, and I knew you were gonna love it too. That's like what might have made me even more angry when I was watching it. I was like, God damn it, this is a fucking Seamus movie if I've ever seen one. God, I hate this thing. Because like some movies where it's like, oh, it makes you think like, oh yeah, no, like I'm into that. Like it gets you thinking. There's multiple possibilities. Story can go this way, story can go this way. Is this character good? Is the character there's no characters. It's just like an echo.
Haley and Kevin are the characters. Come on now.
Sure. Yeah, whatever their names are. There's if you don't read anything about this movie, you're gonna have no idea what's going on, and it's literally just B-roll shots. It's not like shots were composed for characters and like there's over the shoulders and there's character development. It's a shot of a door and then it goes away. That's it. The whole thing. It's unexplicably aggravating to me. They should do what they did to. Oh, I can't even think of it now. But there was a video game that was just so poorly. Oh, E.T. I think it was an E.T. video game where they got every single copy in the entire world and they buried it. And nobody knows where they are.
Wow. So you hated this more than The Witch, huh?
Did you hate it more than It Follows? Yeah, Seamus, you know what, Seamus?
I just ruined it. So
no, I got it. I got to give it to you. I kind of liked it. I haven't watched a movie in a while. Don't get me wrong. I didn't like that there wasn't much dialogue. I don't want to get too much into this. I know we're kind of cutting it on time, but I haven't watched a movie like that in a while to where the whole time I was watching it and I was like, I'm so fucking anxious right now. I feel like I'm going to throw up because I don't know what's going to happen. And I love that whole dreamy kind of like eerie, ominous aspect that it had. I think it should have been an hour max. Maybe. I feel like it was dragged out a lot. It didn't have any dialogue. There was a couple jump scares, and there was a couple parts to where you're like, damn, this shit's about to be scary. And nothing happened, which was kind of disappointing.
And that's what makes it so genius is that like in a lot of ways there may be a couple cheap jump scares in it, but to me they earned it because they take a lot of time in a lot of these other scenes setting up things that like don't happen.
Right.
So not to spoil anything, but the scene where the little girl is brought to the bedroom and she sees her father sitting on the edge of bed, she moves.
Terrifying.
And what makes it so fucking effective is that it's super deliberate.
Yes.
Like the camera action is super deliberate, where it's not like quick. There's no quick cuts in this movie. I mean, well, there are, but like, there's no like in scenes like in an actual single scene. Like if the camera is like panning or moving or whatever, it's not quick. It's super slow and deliberate. So you're just sitting there on the edge of the seat going, oh shit, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Something's going to pop. And then it doesn't happen. But then the mom starts talking and the voices, I mean, I get where Nick's coming from, but I know why he hates this movie. And I
do too. Yeah, I knew he wasn't going to like it.
Like, I'm going to bring this up and he's going to like stab me in the throat.
Yep.
He's going to hate this movie so much.
I was like, he's going to hate this.
But, and again, I know I'm a pretentious piece of shit. So like whenever my movies that I like are super pretentious, but this is why this movie is so divisive, because you either hear someone that says like me, they love this movie, or like him, this movie was dumb, didn't make any sense, it's boring. I will admit it's dragged out a little too long.
Mhm.
Like, but because it got to the last 20 minutes, last 15 minutes of the movie, and I'm like, when is this gonna end? Like, it just keeps going and
Uh-huh.
going and going and going, and finally it does. But all I can say, I'll end up with this: fuck that little toy phone. That little toy phone's a bastard. He's a
Oh my
piece of
god,
shit.
scary.
But other than that, yeah, that's what I watched. I did watch Parasite too, but it's not a horror movie, but pretty good if you want to go watch something like that. But yeah, that's what I've watched this week. So, I don't know if you guys have anything to follow that up with, but
Yeah, so and I'm not even sure. I think I might have cut off on my rant at some point because my Mac picked up that I was like screaming or something. So I'm not sure if I cut off at one point, but
I know I heard the whole thing. So
okay, good, because I don't want to. I gotta keep my blood pressure down. So I didn't get into anything like too crazy, but with the release of Scream, I did rewatch 1 through 3. So that was fun. I forgot how amazing some of the parts and some of the character choices that David Arquette took as Dewey. When he just inexplicably just randomly shows up at the college and is just like kind of wandering around in Scream 2. That was very fun. No, I just the series as a whole is just super fun. So with watching Scream 6 recently, I wanted to get back into it. So I dove into that. And then like I mentioned earlier, I did watch The Last of Us. I binged the whole series and within 2 days, I think it was. So very enjoyable. It excites me a little bit more, but it does leave me curious as to how much is going to actually be shown of the parts of the show that I actually enjoy, which is the characters. So a little bit tougher to translate.
Yeah, so I got a real special one. I'll be quick about it though. So I had a couple days off this week and I decided to get onto Tubi with all the fun horror movies that they have on there, and I watched The Bunny Man Massacre. Now, like I said, I love B-grade horror movies. Fine. This might have been more of a C-grade, honestly. It wasn't that great, but honestly, it was pretty entertaining. Long story short, don't want to spoil it. You might not even go to watch it because it was honestly pretty terrible. But long story short, this guy who's always wearing a bunny suit got burnt up as a kid, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. This redneck hillbilly guy kind of adopted him and now uses him to hunt down hitchhikers in the middle of the woods to kill them and make beef jerky out of them, is pretty much the premise of the whole movie. So it was pretty fucking weird. But I was watching this and I was like, damn, you know what? This isn't that kind of bad, honestly. But it was just so stupid to where I was like, and it has like 2 or 3 sequels, I'm pretty sure. Bunny Man Vengeance, and then there was another one too. And I was like, that's impressive that it honestly made it that far from what it was. But that is what I watched this week.
Yeah, so lots of different stuff. So that wraps up this week. We have a lot of stuff coming up that's going to be really fun. And with the addition of Jamie to the podcast, we're definitely going to be adding some new stuff. So keep an eye out on all that. Next week, I believe what we have planned, or what I have planned, is some sort of March Madness bracket. Now, of what? You're going to have to tune in to find out. And that's not because I'm trying to build the suspense. It's because I haven't figured it out yet. So we're going to do some sort of bracket style challenge. We did recently get a couple more reviews on our iTunes. So if you are listening, go drop us some more 5-star reviews. Leave us a little comment. They're always nice to see. So until next time, this is Nick.
this is Seamus.
And Jamie.
Happy haunts.
It's cursed. Cursed. It's got a death curse.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare.
And again, I would just like to thank Vampire Stepdad for letting us use his music for our intro and outro music. So if you would, just go check him out. Spotify, Facebook. Again, that is Vampire Stepdad.